I'm Aiden Cohn Murphy, and welcome back to A View from the Other Side, where we talk to guests and we try to find common ground and the middle ground with our positions and further online discourse. Christian, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're super, super excited to have you here. So I guess with that, we can kind of jump into it.
A view from the other side of the table, I have no doubt.
So you've returned to TikTok recently. You used to be pretty active on the platform, then took some time off, and now you're back again. And I just kind of want to know how this process has been for you, and if you've noticed any difference in people's reactions to your TikTok content now versus before when you were on the platform.
Well, I wouldn't call it taking time off. I would call it getting banned off the platform, which was very annoying. That's why I was off for almost a year, which is crazy. Time just flies. But yes, I was banned. I was frustrated after the ban. And while I grew on TikTok, I was also growing on other platforms. I see a lot of TikTokers place all of their energy into TikTok. I kind of had diversified. So when I was kicked off, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm over it. I'm not even going to put any energy into it. I don't care anymore. And I just focused more on starting a podcast and doing other things. And then a few weeks ago, my friend was like, you need to get on TikTok. You need to get on TikTok. I'm like, oh, I used to be on TikTok and I was huge and I'm a little bitter. I don't feel like coming back. Well, he kept pressuring me and I was like, you know what? It was so much fun when I was on. Let me try to get back on again. And so I did. And when I got back on, I was like, you know what? TikTok's very sensitive to controversy, controversial ideas. So let me see if I can just be a little bit more lighthearted and fun, talk other topics besides just politics all the time. So that's what I kind of did. And it looks like people are enjoying it.
Yeah, because that was one other thing that we noticed, that your content shifted from political to more like lifestyle advice, dating tips, stuff like that. So is that the reason you would say is for the shift in your content, is because of like fear of being banned?
100%, because the day I got back, I did post a political rant on there and it did well. Funny story, it started blowing up and that TikTok got taken down. Well, then I appealed it, it got put back up. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm not about to build again on the platform just to be taken off. Let me be a little bit funner. And so it's been fun. It's been really nice to not be so heated all the time.
What I would ask is like, in political discourse, what do you think the importance of talking to other people with different perspectives is? And do you feel like both sides are coming into that with good faith and trying to foster this discourse, or no?
I don't think you can come to your political perspectives and opinions if you're not actively having discourse with the other side. How do you genuinely know what you believe if you are never around or talking to someone who has a different belief than you? I think my most enjoyable time, I had met Victoria before and I had a great time. It's so fun being with people who think a little bit differently than you, but you still have fun with or that you like. And no, I don't think both sides are doing that at all. I would say one side does it more often than the other, is a little bit more open than the other side. But no, it doesn't happen. And anytime you can do it, I think it's really important to, because if you genuinely believe what you believe, then you should be able to keep that belief even when a little bit of pressure is applied to your belief system.
And what do you think the role of like these social media companies is on when on like stepping in and taking things down? Because like for me, like and as I'm sure, as I know Victoria has, and I'm sure you have to a certain degree, like there's a lot of like hate speech online, and it's often like very like violently targeted at certain people with threats. Like, is that something that you think is a social media company's responsibility to take down, or is in your mind, is it free speech no matter what?
I personally believe free speech no matter what. I don't know who gets to decide what's hateful and what's not, because like I said previously, when I was taken down, I was just stating my political opinions in spicy ways. I didn't find it hateful at all. You might have found it hateful. I did not. So I would prefer not to give that control over to a social media company who then gets to choose what's hateful and what's not. I'm not sure we're always going to agree on what's hateful. And so that's the primary reason why I have an issue with it.
And does that include like physical threats of violence?
Maybe not. I mean, that might be taking it a little too far, but having a different opinion on a riot scandal, or a person, I don't think is hateful.
One quick question I have for you, kind of circling back. You said that one thing that you feel like kind of solidifies or at least challenges people's political beliefs is discourse. And so I'm kind of curious how you would define your own political ideology and how you came about having that political ideology. Like if you've always been conservative, or maybe if there was some sort of process there.
I would define it as conservative. I don't always agree with anyone on either side. I'm not huge on labels, but I would say it came to my beliefs just through my experiences in high school and seeing both the sides and seeing how both sides interact with each other. Now, when I was in high school, which wasn't that long ago, I don't think the country was as charged up or politically charged as it is now. So it was a much easier time to kind of figure out where you stand and just come to your beliefs without like some sort of intense pressure to do that. So I did it through reading, I did it through talking to different people, and just through my experiences. I would say that's how I landed there. And then as I went into college and the country began to get more charged up, I really figured it out.
And how have your political beliefs changed, even as recently as like, have your political beliefs changed since Trump left office? Have your political beliefs changed in that period of time?
Have they, or how have they?
Have they?
Have they? No, there might be certain things that I go, oh, I could have been off there. Oh, like I wish, this was different, but my political ideology or beliefs are the same, which a lot of people on TikTok don't seem to understand. They think I've had some shift. I'm like, hey, just because I'm talking about dating doesn't mean I'm not a conservative. But no, I don't think they've changed, but I do. And it's like, I'm trying to give you an example of one thing that I'm kind of like iffy about now, but there's just certain things that I'm upset about or whatever, looking back on the past few years.
Are there any things that you think that like that you would agree with maybe like Democrats or liberals on, or in any way, whether it's like capital punishment or queer rights, or like, does anything come to mind?
Closing hedge fund, the tax loophole for hedge fund managers, but I think that's just a populist. I think that's just a populist point. It depends. I think we need to go like issue by issue. It's hard for me to just like off the top of my head, but like when I think about it, I think I can't find anything necessarily. If you have an idea of something that you have a question about, I could probably answer that, but like off the top of my head, no.
We have a chance for that later, where we'll talk about specific policies.
Cool.
Digging a little bit deeper into your political beliefs and ideology as they stand now, would you call yourself a Trump supporter, and why or why not?
I am very pro MAGA. I am a Trump supporter. I mean, like, he's not the president anymore, so it's a bit weird of a term, I think, when he's not running for office and he's not the president. Trump supporter. I actually have known the Trump family since I was born. I'm close with the family. He was the owner of my dad's first team. I have a long-standing relationship with him. So yeah, I love my family friend, and I love that family. I like a lot of his policies when he was the president. But in March, gosh, I was trying to like think, what month is it? It's already March. In March 2022, when he's not the president, and he is not, right now running for any position. I'm a conservative. I like the MAGA agenda. Right now, I'm all about Ron DeSantis, but yeah, I'm very pro MAGA. I think that's almost like a better term than Trump supporter when he's not in office.
So if you describe yourselves as having some populist values, where do you fall on, like, what do you think the federal minimum wage should be?
I think it should depend on the states. I don't think there should be a flat out federal minimum wage. I don't really believe in that, because we see in California has, I think, one of the highest minimum wages in the country, if not the highest. But prices are more expensive here. Like, it depends on the states, and a minimum wage doesn't necessarily make things more affordable for people. So that's where I would stand, and I'm sure Victoria has something to say. But
yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious on the minimum wage. So how do you feel like minimum wage is across the country as a whole? Like in California, for example, I think our minimum wage in LA is around $13. Is that, a comfortable rate, or do you think that minimum wage should be increased?
I know the minimum wage in California, as it is right now, is putting people out of business. And, a lot of people have a lot to say about that. They'll say, well, then you shouldn't even have a business. But, I don't.
As you said, though, cost of living is exceptionally more here. So if it's not raising the minimum wage, how do we kind of make sure that people are taken care of, that people can afford to live here? If it's not raising the minimum wage, would you support social programs to subsidize those wages?
Absolutely not. I would support lifting restrictions and
What restrictions are those?
Oh, I was going to say, so many measurements on like gas, for example, and we have high gas taxes here. I would support reforming those sort of measures rather than adding in more social programs and continuing to raise the minimum wage.
So, I mean, on the gas tax, so like, I'll share my perspective, and you can just say, and like, whether you agree or not, just the framework of, do you believe that climate change is real and is a serious problem that we are facing?
I don't believe it's a serious problem. Absolutely not.
What motive would scientists or government officials have to lie?
Well, more government control. That's what I would say. For example, in the electric car thing, I just pulled out the example the other day. In the mayor of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, threatened to turn our electricity off during COVID if we had a certain number of people at our house, if we were having a party at the beginning of quarantine. Some might say, hey, he should be doing that because we didn't want to spread the virus. I don't think you have the right to, regardless of what's going on, step in and determine who I can have over at my house. If you're going to turn off my electricity, I can't charge my electric car, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of times there's this push for electric vehicles, green energy because of climate change, and we need to clean up the environment. So I foresee climate change through the lens of more government control. So that's my issue with it. And I think the government or political candidates, politicians do have a vested interest in pushing it because it could give them more control.
So what's the like, if government like interference is the danger of trying to stop climate change, how do we stop climate change?
I'm not sure. I'm not concerned about it, so I don't really care.
And are you not concerned about it because you don't think it is happening, or are you not concerned about it because because most, like, a lot of the impacts will be, unless we all live for 300 years, the most serious impacts will be after our lifetime?
I can't find a time in history where the climate hasn't changed. And when I look at all these climate experts, Al Gore, et cetera, originally it was there was a coming ice age, then it shifted to global warming. Now it's just this, all-encompassing climate change. I'm constantly hearing about rising sea levels, even though I see politicians buying beachfront homes. I don't really buy it. I don't buy the gist. Yeah, the climate is changing. It always changes. And I don't see it as affecting anybody, especially in America's life at this time right now.
See, I guess my kind of question is like for me, whenever I am accusing someone of lying, whether it's a politician, a scientist, whatever, my biggest thing to look into is motive. And so when I see something like climate change, I see these incredibly established experts saying that climate change is a real problem and it's one we need to deal with soon. And then I also see right-wing politicians who are largely funded by oil and gas companies discrediting those scientists. So for me, I'm saying clearly these stories are not, adding up. Someone is lying. Who is the motive to do who is the motive to do so? Someone whose reputation is on the line, or someone who is essentially being paid to spread those lies, or at least pro oil and gas propaganda. So what would your response be to that kind of situation?
I totally understand it. And it's not that I don't believe oil and gas companies have extreme interests, or right-wing politicians do, who are getting paid by oil and gas companies. I'm not discrediting that or discounting that. I'm simply saying that the overall plan, or where it looks like we head when we swallow these climate initiatives, concerns me a lot more than oil and gas.
Interesting.
And I guess a follow-up on that is like, so I live in DC. I have like firsthand seen like the power of that lobbyists hold in this town. And like and so oftentimes, like, instead of listening to the American people, these like lobbyists are just going to politicians and they're funding like their campaigns and they're enriching them. And like, there's no chance that this is just like that oil and gas companies just want to donate to politicians to be polite. This is for something. So like, what in Christian Walker's America, what is the role that lobbyists have? Can lobbyists make donations? Can companies make donations? Are companies people?
I would say they can make donations. I mean, I don't know. I'm not interested in running for office. I'm interested in talking about political topics that I'm interested in. And so I don't really know, because I don't want to be the president.
Yeah, me either. I feel you. I definitely don't want to be the president either. I prefer just staying on TikTok and that's it.
Yeah, and cultural topics and talking about whatever the fuck I want to. But no, I don't have an answer.
And so one of those topics is that correct me if I'm wrong, but for a long time you did not. I mean, I identify as gay. I think you, correct me if I'm wrong, did not refer to yourself as gay.
I still don't. No.
You still don't. Can you talk about why?
I refer to myself as, I don't really care. It's more of like a statement more than it is anything else. I'm attracted to men. I don't want to be lumped into the LGBTQ, A, B, C, D, E, F, G community. I'm not a part of a community. I do not have to share the same beliefs as someone simply because we're attracted to the same person or attracted to a certain group of people. Like, I don't like being placed into groups. Or specific groups, because clearly I'm okay with being placed into the conservative bunch, but with LGBTQ, I'm not at all. And so that's why I say don't put the G word on me.
And so, on the topic of not saying gay, the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida, you've spoken out in support of.
Religiously love it. But it's not, first of all, I have to say, I really don't even know what you're talking about, because there's no Don't Say Gay bill.
Okay.
It's Florida HB 1557. But Don't Say Gay, never heard that in the
But if there's no Don't Say Gay, then there's no death tax, and there's no
Well, on this topic, I have no idea what the Don't Say Gay bill is, because that's not what it's called.
The Don't Say Gay bill, which HB 1557, it does say that it does say that it prohibits any discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in the classroom. Why do you feel like it does say in for students K through 3? So a criticism of this bill is K through 3 or in situations where it's not deemed age appropriate. So
which is purposefully written to be vague.
Right. So one of the massive criticisms of this bill is that it is intentionally vague, right? It doesn't specify curriculum. It says discussion. And so that has obviously raised a lot of red flags for people, hence why they have coined it the Don't Say Gay bill. And so I'm kind of curious why you disagree with that nickname for it. And I'm curious to hear why you support the bill.
I support it because, when I was a kindergartner, even through third grade, I did, I looked at boys, I guess, but I did not, that was no discussion between me and my friends. And so Ron DeSantis taking action to ensure that kindergartners through third graders do not have sexual topics in their curriculum, do not have discussions with the teacher about it, that comforts me. I think that should be handled at home, especially kindergarten through third grade. And so that's where my support comes. That's where I get my support for the bill. Now, can kids, according to this bill, talk to their friends at school about their sexual orientation? Sure. I don't remember while I was in kindergarten through third grade ever talking about sexuality with friends. That wasn't a topic of the conversation. Can kids do that in this bill if they so happen to want to? Sure. It can't be in curriculum.
See, one of my many gripes with the bill, and I feel like, we'll maybe be able to see eye to eye on this, is it sounds like a lot of conservatives have an issue with any conversation about sexuality being discussed in the classroom to like young kids, right? And so an amendment was proposed by a Florida senator to change the bill so that it bans conversations about sexuality, just human sexuality in general, sex, all that stuff, in the classroom. And he said, people are saying that this is discriminatory. Let's ensure that it's not. And that amendment failed. The GOP said no, essentially saying they don't have a problem with sexuality being discussed in the classroom. It's orientation and gender identity specifically. And so I'm kind of curious, your thoughts, would your personal beliefs align more with the senator, or are you siding more with the GOP, that you specifically have an issue with orientation and gender identity being discussed?
Yeah, I specifically have an issue with gender identity and orientation being discussed for kindergartners through third graders. Absolutely.
And see, another one of my issues with this, though, is
and another reason why I believe that is when we see the rate of different gender identities skyrocketing in the past few years because it's being discussed more. This is not a topic that I believe should be placed on kindergartners through third graders.
And so what I think is what's important to note is when we're talking about government overreach is whether you think that like this is something that should be placed on third graders, what the Don't Say Gay bill doesn't do, or what the bill in discussion that we're talking about, what it doesn't do is stop a mandate of teachers talking to their students about the human sexuality. It's not doing that. What it's doing is that it's the government saying to teachers, like, this is what you are allowed to talk about. This is what you're not allowed to talk about. And so if we're talking about government overreach, is that not?
Public schools are funded by the public. So yes, teachers, this is not, a teacher's job is not to go into the classroom and teach about whatever they want. You're there to fulfill a job. You have a boss. So yeah, they're allowed to tell the teacher, you're not able to talk about sex with kindergartners. You're not able to talk about gender identity or non-binary with a kindergartner. They're absolutely allowed to do that. And I believe they should be.
Well, and here's the issue where I think a lot of people on the right and left are not really seeing eye to eye, is that this bill does not ban conversations of sex. This bill bans specifically, right. Or well, it bans specifically.
And I wish it did, but it bans specific things in the curriculum. Yes.
Right. And so I guess my kind of issue with it is, when you're so young in school, this bill, number one, can apply to all grade levels, but focusing specifically on kindergarten through third. When I was in school, I learned a lot of lessons about respecting others, clean up, everybody do your share. And some more complicated issues were kind of pushed into that curriculum as well. Like, people look different. It's important to respect people's differences. It would make me feel more comfortable knowing that a teacher was telling my kids' classroom, hey, families look different, and that's okay. We should be respectful of that. So I'm curious why you are against that enough to support legislation that specifically bans it.
Well, I think that's a discussion you could have at home with your kid. Or were you saying you would prefer if other kids were learning that at their home? Because I think it's a parent's job to teach their children what they want to teach the child.
Though I think that what Vic was saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Victoria, is that like the role that this bill would have is if a student, if a second grader comes in and mentions that like they have two moms, and like another student asks like a teacher like some question about it, because, or well, let's say younger, because I think second graders know a little bit more, but just like did not grow up like in that experience where they actually did have like let's say a mother and a father, and like they ask about that, a teacher's not really allowed to talk about that, and so like having to like the notion that a person can have two moms, that's not sex. That's not teaching sex to kindergartners, is it?
Don't you think that kid can go home and ask their parents about it though? Or they can talk to the other kid, or they can talk to the other kid's parents? I remember when I was kindergarten through third grade, and actually all grades, we had tons of questions about a ton of different things. And the teacher's role in the classroom was to stay on course. So right. I don't think, when kids look at mommy and daddy, or if a kid has two moms, yeah, they don't see something sexual. But yeah.
So I have kind of two problems. My main one, why I don't think conversations about two mommies, two daddies should be banned, is because yes, parents can teach their kids that at home, but some parents might be teaching their kids bigotry at home. It would be nice. I'm not saying the school has to say, hey, respect everyone's differences, but it would be nice. It's not something I think should be outright banned. And then additionally, to that, the way that this legislation is enforced frightens me a bit, because it is so open up to interpretation, where essentially any parent can, sue a school or school district for any mention of sexual orientation. And with some of these lesson plans in kindergarten being draw your family, write about your family, who's to say a parent can't sue a school because some kid drew a picture of their family and they've got two dads?
Well, the parent can't sue the school for something that another kid does, according to the bill. That's not in the bill. It's about how
it's not in the bill, but any like legally, like a parent can make the argument.
Yeah, but that's not in the bill. That has nothing to do. That's not what the bill.
But it opens it up.
But if the teacher would say, present your photos, to the classroom, and that was, teacher facilitated, kid gets up there, says, this is my daddy and this is Pops, could a unhinged homophobic parent sue a school district over that? The answer is yes, because of this legislation. And I guess my point is that I don't feel that this legislation was at all necessary. It seems like an attack on the LGBT.
I don't think this idea that kindergartners are going to be going in and asking these complex questions about sexuality, not sex, but sexuality in, oh, I have two lesbian parents. Mrs. Sullivan, that was my kindergarten teacher. Miss Sullivan, can you explain about lesbian parents and these two moms? And then the teacher needs to go into some big lesson plan about LGBT. No, like that simply is not needed. And I more so see teachers taking the opportunity or taking advantage of a question a kindergartner asks to teach a lesson on LGBTQ being an issue, more so than a kid having a complex question about the matter.
And one more question about this before we move on. So like whether it's necessary for a teacher to do or not, like part of what you said, your like the reason why you supported the bill is because it's important, like to ban like kindergartners from learning about sex.
100%.
So that is something to excuse a governmental whether it's overreach, like that's
No.
Just to get to the crux of my question is that like, how is banning a teacher from talking about the fact that a kid has two moms, how is that an appropriate like thing for the government to ban a teacher from doing?
How is it okay for a government to ban a teacher talking about a complex issue to kindergartners when they're supposed to be learning how to sound out the alphabet? because some parents don't want their kids learning about an issue like that in kindergarten. And that's their right to have, and that's their right to vote on legislators that will enact bills to make sure their kids don't learn about gayness and lesbianism and non-binary and this and that, the other in kindergarten. They can do it later down the line. My kindergartner doesn't want to learn about lesbian moms, or I don't want my kindergartner learning about lesbian moms, etc., because that's not even something going through their mind at that age. And so that's what the bill's about.
So can two lesbian moms say that they, like, to the school, I don't feel comfortable with my child learning about like heterosexual marriage? Like is that something?
In kindergarten, are kids learning about heterosexuality?
They might.
Kids learn about complex topics in a way that makes sense for their age group. You know, when I was in elementary school, I learned that people are from different countries, people have different cultures, people look different from each other. Like, kids are, you know, familiar with these topics, and it's important to expose them to kind of simplified versions of these topics at an early age, so they don't learn things kind of on the school bus, I guess you could say. Like, for me, this bill really says that it's save it for the school bus. You know, Johnny could be learning that some families look different, and that's great. We should respect that. Or he could be hearing slurs on the bus. You know what I'm saying? For
me, how I see the bill being a focus on academics bill. Let's focus on phonics. Let's focus on addition, subtraction. Let's focus on those topics. I feel like the other side sees the bill as being our activism is being stopped. We can't talk about LGBT issues to kindergartners, to third graders. Yes, that is kind of what the bill's about. And I like that about the bill. It's not about, you know, if we're concerned about kids picking up bigotry, et cetera, then figure out another way to do it outside of a publicly funded institution.
Would you agree that schools do not have like if there should be a greater focus on academics in schools, then would you agree to funding like public education more?
Depends. Probably not. No.
But why?
But there should be a greater focus on academics. Doesn't automatically mean we need to be paying teachers unions more, et cetera. It means let's focus on topics instead of indoctrination on LGBTQ issues. That is not focusing on academics to me.
So with this focus on academics, just the last question, and then I want to move on. And I also want to make it clear, it's not like this is a debate. It's not like
I like hearing from you. Absolutely not.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to kind of get a feel for your beliefs. Do you think that there should also be legislation drafted to ban, you know, lessons on manners and lessons on respect in kindergarten classrooms? Because that's
not a complex issue. That's not a complex issue at all.
But orientation is.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. See, I disagree.
So family structure is complex.
Two women fucking is complex. Yes.
But two women, but it's not two women. It's not two women having sex.
Okay, I want to ask you a question, Aiden. Okay. Can the kindergartner go into the classroom and say, I have two moms? Is that banned? No. So he's still allowed to say that. Can another kindergartner ask him, you have two moms? Yes. Can the teacher come in and give a lesson on the history of lesbianism? No, because that's not appropriate for kindergarten.
If a kid is hypothetical, then
one more thing, and if a heterosexual couple doesn't want their kindergartner, because remember, parents are responsible for raising their children, regardless of how you think your opinion on how they raise them. It's up to two parents' jobs. And yes, abuse, bad, etc. If two parents don't want their kindergartners learning about a specific subject, they're allowed to feel that way. They're not banned from feeling that way.
So should they be able to opt out of racial justice classes?
Racial justice, BLM? Yeah. We should also ban CRT.
In the hypothetical situation with
we promise we will move on after this.
Yes. Sorry.
More fun stuff.
In the hypothetical situation, kid comes in and says, you know, I have two dads, and another kid has a question. What if instead of directing that question to that other kid, the kid asks the teacher? Do you think it's really worthy of the school being sued if a teacher were to answer that question? Because that's one of my biggest gripes with the bill, is it's not like this was proposed curriculum to teach about the LGBTQ plus community and the GOP said no. They went out of their way to ban any conversations about this.
Well, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this account, but it's really just a culmination of different people's TikToks, libs of TikTok on Twitter. We see constantly activist teachers on TikTok. And I know, like, I hear sometimes conservative talking points and I roll my eyes too. This isn't a talking point. I see it every day on TikTok. Activist teachers trying to push different subjects, regardless of whether it be, social justice or LGBTQ, et cetera, on students. So regardless of if the bill is reacting to what was going on in school districts or is proactive, I like the bill, and I do think a teacher is fine to say if that scenario happens, a kid comes up and asks, "Hey, Johnny has two dads." I think it's totally fine for the teacher to say, that might be his experience, but we're focused on phonics today. Let's get back to phonics, and if you sound out your B's good, I'm gonna give you a Tootsie Roll.
The American education system has definitely failed because I am not even sure if I could tell you what a phonic was. I can probably guess, but it is now time for our segment, Brainsqueezers. In this segment, we will test our guest pop culture literacy. Our trivia questions will cover music, art, sports, TV shows, and history. This game is sure to squeeze your brain.
So open your eyes and feast your eyes as we see how much Christian Walker knows about the things that everyone is talking about.
Christian, your first brain squeezer is, in what year did female aviator Amelia Earhart become the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean?
Gosh, I don't fucking know that. No idea.
Incorrect. The answer that we were looking for was 1928. Duncan?
Don't worry, you still have two more questions. The second one. Woman plane captain Amelia Earhart was famous for flying what type of plane?
Yo, I have no idea about Amelia Earhart except she flew planes. I don't know years.
Well, you know that part. You know that part. But I mean,
I don't know. I don't even know what plane I'm getting on next week to go visit my mom. So no.
Hopefully not the one that Amelia Earhart got on.
No.
Okay. Well, the plane that you're going to see your mom is the incorrect answer. We were looking for the Lockheed Vega.
But it's okay. It's okay to not know about Amelia Earhart. It's just one of many things that we cover on the show. Your final question: in Jay-Z's 2018 song "Love Happy," the rapper referenced what famed lady pilot?
Amelia Earhart.
You got that one. I think you said you do know a lot about Amelia Earhart.
I'm a scholar.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Kristen. You got 1 out of 3. Now let's hear a word from our sponsor, the Amelia Earhart Foundation for Female Flight, empowering women to fly across the ocean every single day. Duncan, our next sponsor.
Our next sponsor is that thing in 2016 when your middle school teacher tried to explain the difference between sympathy and empathy.
Sympathy is when you feel bad for someone. Empathy is when you put yourself in their shoes. Our podcast is sponsored by Face Tattoos. They don't make you look cooler, but they are permanent. Now it's your word from our sponsor, Paramount Plus, the one streaming service that you got a free trial for to watch that one movie, but it keeps charging you because you forgot to cancel your free trial. Christian, do you have anything to plug before we move on?
Yeah. Do you have any more sponsors?
Do I have any more sponsors? Make sure to listen to my podcast if you're not easily offended and cancelable.
I am in pain and it feels like the most painful growth spurt. And now my body's feeling so hurt.
Now it's time for a game called Slay or Nay. We're going to tell you a topic and you have to say whether it's slay or whether it's nay. First up, Brandy Melville.
Oh God. Some of my friends like it. I guess slay.
Iced coffee.
Slay.
Lululemon.
Slay.
Human rights violations.
Because of the leggings. Human rights violations. What's considered human rights? LGBT lessons.
Genocide.
Okay, nay. If it's genocide, nay.
Okay. Unions.
Pass.
Avocado toast.
Nay, but I'm weird.
Abortion.
Celebration of abortion, nay.
Men with beards.
Oh, Lord, God, slay. I thought that was a trick question. Slay. Women's with beards, nay. Men with beards, slay.
Men with beards, slay. Joseph Stalin had a beard.
Oh, I don't care because also Hassan Piker has a beard. Slay.
Hassan Piker was the next
actually
one.
correct.
Wait, you don't care as in yes, Stalin?
Stalin, Slayer, nay.
As in beards have nothing to do with Joseph Stalin. Slay.
Okay. Then we'll go specific. Then we'll go specific. 1 second. Okay, Joseph Stalin in this picture.
Nay, because he was a horrible person.
But he did have a beard. But the beard's not good enough to cancel out.
The beards can't cancel out murder. No.
Are we trying to cancel Joseph Stalin?
I don't care. Nay. He's
So Joseph Stalin good.
No, Joseph Stalin bad thing.
Okay, canceled. Victoria.
Although didn't I just say something about murder? I was thinking about jail the other day. I was gonna make this TikTok because there was this sound where Andy Cohen asked Sheree Whitfield from Real Housewives of Atlanta, like, would you ever date someone from jail? And she like hesitantly answered. Anyways, nay to Joseph Stalin and slay to men with beards.
Duly noted. Okay.
But no, I'm not for prison abolishment, and I'm not for
prison abolition only for men with beards. Slayer neck.
We could compromise there.
There we go. That's what the show's about. Finding
exactly.
common ground.
Victoria.
So you did meet with famed Twitch streamer Hassan Piker. Y'all got into a bit of a debate. How was your experience with him?
It was fun. We had a good time. It was fun going over. I think the stream was fun, and yeah.
Very cool. Do you see yourself kind of doing more of this as you continue your social media career, kind of like going across the aisle and speaking with different people you disagree with?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think that's the most important thing to do. I think oftentimes that's the more fun thing to do. I mean, I cannot stand like conservatives that just go on conservative podcasts and just do conservative things and are like soft pitch questions with which liberals love to do. That's demented. That's deranged. Like you are just nothing but an ideologue and a talking point machine if you can't go on podcasts and things of the other side. So absolutely, and both sides who don't do that are weird.
Okay, and we have a very quick speed round of whether it's a political position or whether it's just a general opinion. Gay marriage.
Political position, or no, it's a
no, sorry, I meant as in, sorry, I worded that very badly, as in whether you support whether you
it's
support.
A non-issue. It's like it's already been. What do you mean? Do I support it or not? If you can,
do you support do you support the Supreme Court overturning Obergefell v. Hodges?
It's already been overturned. Nobody's even thinking about it.
Wait,
and I want a big strong.
Wait. Obergefell was not overturned.
Overturned. No. Gay marriage has already been legalized. Nobody's trying to overturn it. Move on.
Okay. Hear that, conservative?
61%.
Hear that, conservative? Okay.
Like
That's a note. That's a note to the RNC and to Republican legislatures who are trying to constitutionally challenge gay marriage. Christian Walker said, stop.
Nobody cares.
I actually do. Sorry, not to get kind of off track. We're kind of improving at this point, but I actually do have a little bit of a question. If the Republican Party did return to their stance that they had previously about gay marriage, and
also wait, pause. Let's clarify that the Republican Party platform of 2020 does include being opposed to gay marriage. I just want to add that.
Yeah, the official party platform does still include that. And if Republicans would start actively advocating for the overturning of gay marriage, would you reconsider your identity as a Republican or as a voter who votes Republican?
As a voter, no, because the other issues are way more important to me. Are they going to do that? No. If they do it, no, I'm still voting Republican. But this is like, I hate when the left does this, not calling you the left, But this is a conversation on Twitter all the time. It's like we've already moved past this issue, but until 100% of the population has the same opinion and everybody in America is pro-gay marriage, like we're not going to hear the end of it. Everybody's moved on. 61% of the population or more, I think it's 69%, approve.
Nice.
Forcefully approve, willingly approve of gay marriage. It's over. It's done. Nobody cares. And it's just like, so questions on it, it's hard for me to answer.
70% approval ratings equals good done policy, Medicare for all.
No. It doesn't equal good done policy. It equals, it's an issue that's already done. When it's already
okay. So keeping in place Roe v. Wade, I believe the last time I checked, it has an approval rating of 2/3. That is settled law.
Oh yeah, well, it definitely won't be overturned federally. No.
Do you not support it? Do you not support it?
Sorry?
You don't support overturning it?
It won't be overturned federally.
I do have a question, because when we were playing Slay or Nay, the best game ever, you said nay to the celebration of abortions. So does that mean that you would consider yourself pro-choice, but you just think like celebrating abortions is kind of, cross?
I'm not going to weigh in on what someone does. I mean, I don't think I would do it. I know a lot of my friends have gotten pregnant and they don't do it, but I do see a lot of celebration of abortion, and I just think that's nasty. I think it's a hard decision whether you do it or not. I think it's a hard decision whether you do it or not. So to celebrate it is just weird to me.
So I mean, I'm sure it is a very hard decision for people in that position. So would you agree that that is something that is up to the person themselves and not to the government?
No comment.
But what is that? But like, I'm not trying to trap you, but like, what does that mean?
What does it mean? It means no comment.
Okay, Slay or Nay?
All right, Slay. Thank you so much for meeting with us. Obviously, I know we really got into it, but I just really appreciate you being here and taking the time to meet with a couple of leftists and talk it out.
Thank y'all. Thanks for having me. I know, just like we were saying, oftentimes both sides don't have the other side on, so I'm appreciative and thankful for y'all.
Absolutely. And the question that we always kind of leave off on is who is someone from the other party who you respect?
Lord. God, there's always someone I'm saying like, oh, I kind of like her. She's on the left. Does she have to be like a politician?
It doesn't have to be a woman. It can be anyone.
Oh, do they have to be a politician?
I'm not correcting you because of pronouns. I'm correcting you because you said she. I thought you.
No. I just automatically went to she because I feel like there's one. Oh, Kirsten Sinema. Done. That's why, because I was looking for one.
I knew you were gonna say that.
It's funny because I also was gonna say Kirsten Sinema.
Oh.
Nope, she's on your side. Y'all have her, and I love her. She's incredible. That's why I said she, because I was looking for the woman that I love. Yeah.
Y'all can have her, to be honest. Actually, y'all can't have her.
No, not until 2022. Not until 2022.
Y'all keep her.
Yeah. Y'all can't have her until we have a super majority. Then.
Well, again, Kristen, thank you so much for
Wait, can I ask y'all a question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do y'all think you're gonna win in the midterms? Do you think you're gonna keep the House and Senate? Or
we're gonna work like hell. We're gonna get out voters, and we'll let the American people decide.
Great.
Democracy.
Democracy wins.
Talk to y'all later.
Thank you so much, Kristen.
Bye.
Awesome. Thank you for joining.
Wow.
Ow, 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 ow. Go to a doctor if you think you have got